Hey there, everyone. Hope you're having a most excellent day. So I mentioned in one of my last videos for FFBE that I was going to try out this game, Disney Pixel RPG. Someone had clued me in about it in in a comment on one of my videos, and I pre-registered for it, and here we are. We're a few days in. The game just dropped earlier this week. I think it's literally like 3 days old. But I figured I would just do a quick video and give you guys my first impression of the game. So I'm going to kind of like break this down into segments. Feel free to use the timestamps. I'll put timestamps in here so like to jump around to certain segments if there's something in particular you are interested in. It's going to be kind of a longish video, so you may want to use timestamps. But I'll just start right off the bat with just my first impressions and sort of answering the question, should you play this game? And the short answer is yes. I think it's definitely a game that's worth giving a try. It's sort of like a simplified version of FFBE, which is, that was the last game that I played. And, it's very much sort of a simplified version of that. It feels very much like, early days FFBE, but even simpler than that, which, could be seen as a pro or a con, but that's neither here nor there. There's lots of room to expand and introduce new mechanics as the game goes along. But it is very, very easy to play. And for the moment, everything in the game can be done and completed as a free-to-play player. I have not finished everything. I've done almost all the content. The only thing I have left to do are the bonus boss stages. And that's saying something, right? So it's only been 3 days and I've only got like a few boss stages left to go. But we'll get to that in a minute. So it is pretty skinny on content for now, but we can assume that there will be like some weekly or bi-weekly content updates. They haven't really given us any like clues on that. They've mentioned that there's going to be like so there's an app update that's coming out today. They just, released some news on that. And then they said coming soon that there's going to be a new character in an event planned. But they didn't give us like any indication of date of when that's going to release. So I don't know if we're going to be getting like weekly content or if it's going to be bi-weekly. My hope is that it's going to be weekly because right now the game is very, very skinny on content. But anyways, next, the battle system is just very, very intuitive and very easy to master. You're going to pick it up very, very quickly. The tutorial, basically by the end of the tutorial, you're going to basically have mastered the battle system. It's very, very simple. Again, there's room, I think, to expand on the battle system. And so sort of like FFBE started off, fairly simple. And then by the end, like comparing FFBE day one to FFBE now, it's like a whole different game, right? And so you can definitely sort of see where they've left these little gaps to expand upon different elements of the battle system. The rewards so far are just kind of okay. There's nothing to write home about. Like, you would think for like a launch event, they would be handing out a lot more free stuff. And I mean, not to say that what they've been handing out isn't enough to get to, play and enjoy the game. It's fine. But the rewards haven't been too crazy. There is an infinite reroll built into the tutorial, so that's kind of neat. So a lot of people do rerolls on these gacha games because they want like the best team to start off with, and they actually have an infinite reroll built into the tutorial. Now that infinite reroll doesn't include the latest banner units. So if you're wanting the latest banner units, I just tapped on the screen and I'm talking to a friend there. Okay. So yeah, you notice these little avatars on there. I'll talk about the avatars later. But yeah, so if you want to do infinite rerolls, it's really cool, and you can kind of reroll to do the unit that you want. I'll talk a little bit about some good units later on, but there's also a great wiki that has a tier list that is updated basically every day, and I will link that in the description below, and I'll do like a sticky comment with some links to some resources if you're interested in playing the game. You can also join my Discord. I've created a Disney Pixel RPG section in my Discord server. where we can talk about the game and whatnot. So feel free to do that as well. Speaking of the current banners, so it is a gacha game, so you are pulling on banners. The current banners are entirely skippable. Like I said, you can do this game entirely F2P. You do not need to pull the latest units, which are Aurora and Maleficent, both of which are very strong units. I think a lot of people probably are rooting for Maleficent just because she's an AoE damage dealer, which is pretty, AoE damage dealers are definitely really important in this game. And just for like clearing out content and for farming and things like that. So she's probably going to be the one people go for, but you honestly don't need her because there are plenty of good units in the general pool. All right. As far as, comparing this game to FFBE, that's, FFBE is the only gacha I've ever played before this. And so that is sort of like my gold standard for gacha games. And so I'll do a lot of comparisons between this game and FFBE. And very much like FFBE, it is a typical gacha RPG with, rarity systems, the units that are on rarity systems. So like, you see we've got all these different rarities. I don't think you can actually do it based on rarity. No, you can't. But anyways, these are just some of the characters that I've pulled thus far. And you can see they've got like the different frames around them. That's indicative of their rarity level. So the bronze one is your 1 star. You see little stars next to them. So currently 5 star is the highest. It started the same way in FFBE, and then eventually we got up to 7 star, Neo Vision, all that crap. So guaranteed that there will be higher rarity levels if this game lasts that long. The other similarity is, of course, the currency system, and that's probably similar with all, all gacha games. So the currency system here is crystals, although they look like lapis, and so there's but they're different colors. So there's blue crystals, or blue lapis, which is free, so that's one that you accumulate for free just by playing the game and for rewards and whatnot. And then there's red crystals, which are the ones you pay for, so that's paid. And there are actual differences in what you can do with each. You'll notice right away on the recent, whatever current banner is up, you can do a cheap once per day, like a daily pull, but you can only do it with red crystals, which you have to pay for. Not a big fan of that. And yeah, you'll also notice you can't use tickets on these at all. Of course, I don't have any tickets to spend, but you can only use tickets on the sort of the general pool gacha. And again, the once per day cheap, the daily one is only for paid crystals. Not a huge fan of that, but otherwise the currency system is very similar. You also have the game's equivalent to gold. They call them picks. That's that little yellow square up there with the P. And you can buy stuff in the shop with either crystals or picks. The different things. Obviously, the stuff in the crystal shops are going to be much better, help you advance much quicker in the game. I have purchased a few things in here, not like with money, but with free crystals. I have not spent any money on this game so far. I'm going to try and go F2P as long as humanly possible. But you see, I have purchased a couple of the crystal things, like just to help sort of speed things up and advance through the game a little bit quicker. But you can also buy a few things with picks or the gold, such as upgrade pixels. I've bought a couple of those and things like that. So yeah, there's the currency system very, very similar. Also, much like FFBE, there is a pity system on the banners. So if you spend, I think it's 15,000 crystals, you can basically pity a unit, and you have to spend them on the banner. You see, I actually have 20 out of 50 points towards a pity. That's because I did 2 10 pulls on this banner trying to get Maleficent, but then I stopped because I didn't get her. But I actually arguably got a better unit. I got Genie, which I'll talk about later. Genie, I think, is a much better unit than Maleficent in the long run, because Genie's a support, whereas Maleficent is a DPS. But anyways, that's sort of a holdover from FFBE, where supports, I think, are going to be much better than damage dealers. The current story content in this game, like I said, it's very, very skinny, but it should be very, very reminiscent of like Final Fantasy Brave Exvius story events. So if you remember, like in story events, you would go in and it would look like this. You get like a background, and then you have all these like little different stages that you just kind of tap on and walk through like a story event. And that's pretty much it. They don't have a world map, so there's no world map like they had in FFBE where the story takes place. It all takes place in these little chapters, these sort of story events that are going on. That may be a pro or a con depending on how you want to look at it. Another comparison to FFBE and sort of a major way that it's different is that the stats are highly simplified. So if we look at the stats on a unit just real quick, you notice there are only 3 stats. There's HP, attack, and defense. So there are no like physical DPS, magic DPS. All right, if you're a damage dealer, it's strictly your attack. Even if you're someone like Maleficent, who you would think is like a mage, wielding a rod or whatever like that, the damage is strictly scaled off attack. Same thing with defense. There's no like defense and spirit. It's just defense. So, all attacks are essentially physical attacks in this game, even if you're using, skills and whatnot. So in that sense, it's kind of nice because you're only focusing on those three stats. Again, there's room for them to potentially expand on this in the future, and they may. I have no idea what their plans are with the game, but that's sort of a big way that it's a big way that it's different. They do have an equivalent to MP in this game, but it's called SP, and it's a shared pool for the entire party. And I'll talk more about that later. I'm going to do like a little demonstration of the battle system later on in this video. All right. So that's enough for like sort of the similarities and differences. I think those are like the main similarities and differences between this game and FFBE. There are probably lots of others, and feel free to comment in the comments below if you're playing the game and you want to let people know, hey, this is what I think about it compared to FFBE. Just keep in mind that this game is fresh. It's a week old. And I think it's only fair to compare it to like FFBE when it first came out. You definitely cannot compare this game to like, FFBE after 8 years. It's literally apples to oranges in that case. But yeah, that's neither here nor there. So now I'd just like to talk really quickly about some of the things that I initially like about the game and some of the things that I don't like. So we're going to do a little bit of nitpicking. These are, of course, just my opinions. You may share them or you may disagree, and that's totally fair. Let me know in the comments below what you think. So I'll start with what I like about the game. First of all, I think it's a really beautiful game. It's very, very smooth design. The art is really great. I love the menu. I think the menu is really, really nice. So, you've got all the sort of the buttons on the side. You've got like your notifications, your mailbox. This is like your jobs list right here. So, or like your missions. So like your daily missions, like clear one quest, blah, 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 your daily missions and all of that stuff. So that's where you go collect all those rewards. You can buy lapis, of course. You see the little heart there? That is for followers. So followers are kind of like friends, but you can't take friends into battle with you. So as far as I can tell, the only real reason to have followers is to accumulate follow points. But the only thing that you can really use follow points on, as far as I can tell, is a little shop. Let's see if this, yeah. So this little shop where you can buy, some stuff with these follow points, but it's mostly like, decorative stuff. You can get, some picks, which is like gold. You can get some attack boost cubes, but they require a lot of follower points to get those things. So I don't think it's really practical. The stamina potion, honestly, is probably the biggest thing, and probably the biggest reason why you want to accumulate friend points is so that you can buy stamina potions. And I'll talk about that later. That's actually one of my nitpicks about the game. But yeah, so you create your little avatars. You see all these cute little people here. You create your avatars and you can follow them. I'll show you mine real quick. In case you want to follow me, feel free to shoot me a follow. So I have brought Best Bunny Girl Esther from FFBE. into this game, because we got to keep Best Bunny Girl alive. So if you see Esther in there, I'm not using my old name Sart. I'm just I'm leaving that with FFBE. So that was my, you know, that feels like the soul of FFBE right there, and so I'm just going to start fresh. But I figured I'd bring Esther into here, and so look for this one. If you want to follow me, I would be happy to have you follow me in this game. All right. And so all of that said, it's a really cool design. You know, all the menus are really easy to get to with the little corner button. You've got your gotchas, your shops, all of these different menus. It's really fun to sort of explore and see what all is in the game. The other thing I really like about the game is the emphasis on team building for optimal strategies. So it's not all about just like loading up your team with damage dealers and just face rolling everything. There really is an emphasis on building teams that work together and synergize together, and it looks like that is going to be sort of the focus of the game going forward. And I'll talk a little bit more about team building a little bit later on. Okay, but that's something I really like, especially if you're planning on doing like the hard mode levels. You definitely want to optimize your team for that. Also, farming materials in this game is very, very simple. So once you've sort of opened up the levels, once you've done the easy mode on all of these, and you just click on the bonus stages, and you see the list of bonus stages and like how you can farm them. So pixels are what you use to upgrade or level up your units. If you need more gold or pix, you can do that. Rarity unlocked materials, so that's like awakening materials. And so I've been spending a lot of time just farming bonus 3-1 for pixels just to level up my units, because far and away you can face roll a lot of content just by leveling up, by over leveling your units and just steamrolling through this stuff. So like for example, the easy mode on all of these chapters, like chapter 1, 2, and 3, like if you have your team leveled up to 30, you can face roll all of that stuff, all these chapters. So like, yeah, literally just grinding out levels and you'll be face rolling through this stuff. The hard mode stuff, that's when you start getting into more like team optimization. All right, still you need to grind a little bit to do the levels. And then ultimately, the game just feels like a really good foundation for expansion into something really fun. I see a lot of room for improvements, and that's not a bad thing. I think it's a good thing that there are sort of gaps that can be built upon, because you don't want the game to come out and like immediately be as difficult as like FFBE is right now. Like I imagine like someone who started FFBE in like year 7, I imagine like the headache it must have been to try and figure all the mechanics out starting at like year 7. So I like that sort of simplicity and that sort of foundation that they built for the game. Now let's talk about what I don't like about the game. First major gripe is the stamina regeneration. Stamina in this game is not easy to recover. They do have energy, the equivalent to energy pots. They call them stamina pots. So you can use the small ones, which increase your stamina by 10, and the larger ones increase it by 50. So like in FFBE, you got your 10 energy pots, your 50 energy pots. Here they call it stamina, of course. But they're not easy to come by, and they are definitely not given out freely. Like they're not given out very frequently. And probably the biggest gripe I have is that when you rank up, so you can see I'm rank 18 up here. When you rank up in the game, you do not get your stamina replenished like it does in FFBE. So in FFBE, when you rank up, you get a full stamina gauge right away, or full energy gauge. Does not happen in this game, and I think that's a huge hindrance to people actually like spending more time and enjoying the game, especially early, especially like starting off early. You want to be able to get your stamina regenerated so that you can grind out more levels, and not having your stamina refill upon rank up just feels like a bit of a kick in the crotch, I'm not gonna lie. So that's probably one of my biggest gripes. Next one is that your units don't gain experience through battle. You can only level up a character by using pixels. And so I'll show you real quick. So, you know, these little pixels right here to level up your units, that is the only way you can level up your units. They don't gain experience from battles, which I think is a huge that's a huge thumbs down for me, like, because it basically forces you to grind and to farm the materials just to level up your units, as opposed to actually leveling them up naturally through progression of the game. Most RPGs, I mean, I don't know of an RPG that I've ever played that where you don't level up by, you know, beating bosses and beating enemies. So that's very strange to me that you can't, that your units don't gain any experience. They gain explorer experience, which, as far as I can tell, has no real effect on the game. I think it may increase the materials they bring back from explorations or expeditions, but I honestly don't know what the explorer levels do for the character. They certainly don't add to the stats of the character. And so I'm not really sure why they don't include leveling up through battle. Big con for me. Another big thing I don't like about the game is that you cannot use summon tickets on the, like, whatever the most current banners are. So in this case, Aurora and Maleficent. If I had any summon tickets, I would not be able to use them on these banners. And so that to me is a sign that this is not very free to play friendly, because it means you have to use crystals in order to summon the latest units. You cannot, like, save up and hoard tickets to get the latest units. My assumption is that once the banners end, they will go in the general pool. This is where you can spend your tickets. You can spend them on the general pool of characters. Now, with that said, there are a lot of really good units in the general pool already. So it's, you know, it's not a bad thing currently, but I can see it being a bad thing later on, especially if you really want the unit and you've been saving up tickets. You basically have to wait until the banner's over, and then it will get added to the general pool. Also, I mentioned before, the cheaper daily pools are only for paid crystals. Don't like that. Another sign that this is not going to be F2P friendly. But those are really the only things that sort of stand out to me as big negatives of the game. And it's still early. Like, I can't say that it's not going to be F2P friendly until we've, like, really seen the game for, you know, a few weeks or a few months. So it's very, very early to kind of call it F2P friendly or not. All right, so now I'm just going to talk about, like, some quick tips. Just some things that I've sort of, you know, picked up, or, like, sort of had some hindsight after playing for a few days and doing most of the content in the game. First thing is, do not blow all your crystals on the current banners. All right, do not go in and just drop all the free crystals they give you on the current banners. Not worth it. Not worth it. You can do everything in the game without these latest units. All right, and you can probably do it with just the free stuff that you get from playing through the game currently. I did a couple of pulls on Maleficent, just because I wanted to increase my roster generally. Like, they haven't been giving out too much free stuff for doing pulls, really, not yet. You know, with that said, there have been some, you know, by progressing through the game, you get some free pulls. They did we got like 10, you know, a free 10 pull earlier this week because we hit some milestone or something like that. But, you know, if you feel like throwing some crystals at one of these, I would do it. But I definitely don't think I would go to pity on either one of these units right now. I just don't think it's necessary, and I think you're going to be better off saving for the future. My other tip is re-roll in the tutorial for a good 3-star unit. And if you want my personal recommendation for which unit to re-roll for, it is Genie. I'll show you Genie. So Genie is a 3-star unit that you can get from re-rolling in the tutorial. And he is a party buffer. He's a really good buffer. You see he's got a level 2 attack up, level 2 damage reduction. So not only does he boost your attack, but he boosts your damage reduction. And later on in the game, you're going to find that damage reduction and defense buffs matter. And so the fact that he does both of those in one skill is huge. So that's my personal recommendation for who you should re-roll for. Damage dealers, you know, you can find, you can pick up good damage dealers here and there. There are even some good 2-star damage dealers like Nick. He's a really good one. Carnival Mickey, who you get for free. Like, you start the game with Carnival Mickey. As you can see, I've spent a lot of materials on him because he's awesome. Like, they give you a lot of free stuff for Carnival Mickey. And so, yeah, like, don't re-roll for a damage dealer, in my opinion. Re-roll for a support unit like Genie, I think, and you're going to be much better off. So another quick tip is just leveling up to make easy work of the first 3 chapters. Like I said, you know, for chapter 1, as long as your team is all over, you know, level 10 or higher, you should be able to face roll that one. For chapter 2, you know, get your team up to level 20 or higher, you should be face rolling that one. For chapter 3, if your team is like 25 to 30, you should be face rolling that one. And then once you clear those out, then you get access to all the bonus stages where you can grind out the pixels and really start leveling up your units to tackle the hard mode stuff. For the hard mode bosses, you'll definitely want your team to get up to around like level 50 with some good ability upgrades and at least a few 4-star awakened units to make that a little bit easier on you. All right, so those are some quick tips. Let's talk a little bit about team building. All right, so my current party that I've been using to clear, and I've used this party in sort of, you know, in different iterations, or this sort of party format in a few different iterations. I will say that my advice for team building is you should start with a core 4 team, right? And the core 4 team should consist of at least one AoE damage dealer. That's an area of effect. So, like, you know, someone who does damage to all enemies. In my case, it's Carnival Mickey. Carnival Mickey is my AoE damage dealer with his area attack. Having a good single target DPS is good on the team, especially if they can exploit boss's weakness. In my case, I have Hero Mickey. Hero Mickey is actually who I ended up with in my re-rolling for the tutorial, and then I got Genie later. I wish I had re-rolled for Genie first, to be honest with you. But with that said, Hero Mickey is a really great single target DPS. He's got what's called Blue Striker, so the enemies with a blue weakness take extra damage from this move, and I'll show you that later when I do my my battle demonstration. You definitely want a healer on the party. Healers are huge and they will save your ass. In my case, I'm using Baymax. He's the best healer that I have. He heals. He's actually he has the highest restore amount of any other healer in the game at 50% with the lowest SP cost. SP is kind of like MP in this game, and I'll explain that later. But there are other great healers out there like Minnie. Minnie is a really good healer. Minnie Mouse. Rapunzel is a really good healer. So there are others out there, but Baymax is probably one of the better ones out there. You also want a support unit, like a buffer unit. In this case, you know, the one I'm using is Genie. Daisy Duck, who you also see I have down here, she's another great buffer because she does an attack up and a defense up. You may be wondering why I have 2 units with attack buffs on there. That's because buffs stack in this game. That is a huge improvement from FFBE, where buffs never stacked. It was just whichever one was the highest took precedence. No, they actually stack in this game. So having 2 attack buffers, right, and they're additive. So she's got a level 1 attack buff. Genie's got a level 2 attack buff, so that basically effectively makes a level 3 attack buff for the whole party, which is huge. So that's why, you know, I have both of those on there. But the core 4 should consist of, you know, 2 DPS units, one of which should be an AoE one for taking out mobs. You need a healer, you need a buffer, and then the 5th slot can really just sort of be interchangeable. So like, I didn't always have Daisy in that 5th slot, so Daisy, you know, I've had other units like Special Agent Nick, who was a single target damage dealer who could inflict paralyze, and that actually worked on some of the earlier bosses, which is really, really cool. Really made the fights a lot easier because he would just paralyze the boss and the boss couldn't do anything. Very nice unit to have in there. You may want a unit that can increase the amount of SP that your units can have. Like, for example, who's a good one? I think Dumbo. Yeah, so Dumbo has level 1 SP gain up for the party, as well as evasion, which is great because everything, all damage is essentially physical damage in this game, so you can evade an attack with that. But SP gain up can be really convenient if your party is, if you want to use your skills a lot more often. So that's, that 5th slot should be interchangeable, but with the core 4 of 2 DPS units, a healer and a buffer, you should be good to go. So let's see, as far as like AoE area of effect DPS units, I like to use Carnival Mickey just because I have him and he gets a lot of free stuff. But some other good ones are like Donald Duck. Donald Duck is a fantastic AoE DPS. He's probably strictly better than Mickey Mouse in that regard because he's a 3-star base, whereas Mickey's a 2-star base. And he also has some elemental affinities, so he can hit bosses with elemental weaknesses. Mulan is another good AoE DPS. Of course, Maleficent, who's on the current banner unit, she's a really good DPS. The reason why I really like Carnival Mickey Mouse for my AoE is because when you upgrade him, he gets a level 1 attack break, and attack breaks are really, really critical in surviving in this game. And so that's why I like him for my AoE DPS. Good single target DPS units are, of course, Hero Mickey is great, especially for units that are weak to blue strikers. Peter Pan, Aurora, also good single target damage dealers. Special Agent Nick, who's a 2-star base, he's a good single target damage dealer because he inflicts paralyze. So yeah, there's a lot of good options there for that. All right, so that's just sort of like basic team building tips. And again, they're all my opinion. You may have difference of opinions. Please share them in the comments below. Would love to hear them. Now I just really quick like to go over how you upgrade a unit. So I mentioned before that pixels are really the only way you can actually level up a unit. And so I'll show you real quick how that works. So you go in, you upgrade, and the first thing that pops up is leveling up your unit. And you see I have 1,320 pixels. It then shows you how many it costs to go to the next level up, which is 103. And you literally just hit the level up button. Very easy. I'm going to go ahead and level up my Mickey to level 60. Okay, why not? And then I'll hit the upgrade button, and boom, there we go. All right, if you want to awaken your unit, it's called rarity ups in this game instead of awakening. You go and you make sure you have all the awakening materials. So there's 3 different colors of truth orbs. There's like the white ones, the blue ones, and the red ones. The blue and the reds are the rarest ones to get, but currently the biggest limiting factor is actually the white ones, because you need a lot of those when you start getting into like 5-star range. But yeah, I haven't awakened anyone to 5-star yet, but that is essentially how you do it. If you accumulate these little stack cubes at any point during the game, you can use those to basically add to the base stats of a unit. I have done 1 attack boost to my hero Mickey here, so that's just, once you have enough of the cubes, you can hit the level up button and upgrade them that way. You use medals, so you see this little medal icon right here. So you get medals from pulling dupes of different characters, and depending on the rarity, you might get more or less medals per dupe. So for a 3-star unit, if you pull a duplicate of that unit, you automatically get 100 medals, so you can limit break them. And what limit breaking means is it just increases the abilities on their skill. So the units only have 1 effective skill that they can use in battle, and it just improves that skill. And so you can see each time you limit break, it increases the effects, or it might decrease the amount of SP consumed per cast, which is also really nice. And then beyond that, it's just stat buffs, okay? And so, depending on how many dupes you pulled, so for 2-star units, each dupe only gives you 5 medals, so you have to pull way more 2-star units to get a limit break effect. But, since 1 and 2 stars are much more common anyways, it's just a matter of time before you get enough to limit break those units. And then lastly, you can use these things called seeds to basically upgrade the abilities or add custom abilities to a unit. And for my hero Mickey, I've actually been, the bad thing is that it's all RNG. And so you hit level up and you hit upgrade, and then it's going to randomly generate a custom ability, and it's totally random. And I've been waiting for one for my Mickey that adds critical up chance, because he gets he has a special EX ability, which you only get EX abilities once you raise them up to a 4-star unit. I'll just real quick show you my Mickey's EX ability is when his own crit chance is up to level 2 or more, he deals heavy damage to one enemy. And what it is it's literally like an extra attack at the end of your turn, where he just attacks like a random target with heavy damage. But I don't currently have anything that gives my Mickey crit chance up at level 2. But there is, I know that there is a custom ability that does that for him. And so I'm just going to show you how you roll for these. Maybe I'll get lucky and I'll get the one that I want. Probably not. But you hit that, and then it just rolls up. Yeah, see, defense up if your party's size 4 or less. Don't know why you'd ever have a party size of 4 or less. There are no missions currently that require that. But it also adds some nice base or some percentage stat boosts to your unit. So yeah, I might do one more. Again, I'm just trying to get something. Ugh. All right, during status ambulance, defense up. No thanks. I'll keep the one I've got. Yeah, you can see how this could really end badly. Just trying to roll for that one specific one. I'm not going to keep doing that here. And yeah, that's basically how you upgrade your units throughout the game. If you're playing the game and you're wondering how that goes. Now I think what I'd like to do real quick, I know this video is already getting quite long, but might as well continue. So this next segment, I'm actually going to show you how the battle system works. And I'm going to do it by tackling the hardest boss that I've been able to defeat so far has been the bonus boss of the chapter 3. Which is Special Agent or Mimic Nick. And so this is the party that I used to beat Mimic Nick. We're going to take this party in there again, and we're going to see if we can get it done. Now, there is a chance that I fail, and that's fine. I'm not going to sit here and repeat it until I beat it. All I want to do is show you the mechanics of the fight and how it works, and hopefully I can get that across to you in this video. So let's hop in here. All right, the battle system is super, super simple. Like I said, you'll master it within a day. So you can see that the units are currently all set to just do a normal attack. If you tap a unit, there are 3 basic actions you can do. You can do attack, which is the red sword, defend, which is the blue shield, or their special skill. All units only have 1 skill. So it's not like you have a bunch of skills you can choose from. They all have only 1 skill. That'll probably change in the future. They'll probably get more skills added, blah, blah, blah. But for now, it's just the 1 skill. And you see that little 20, that's how much SP it costs. Now SP, if you're wondering what SP is, you see at the bottom, that is basically your party's pool of MP. So in most RPGs, they call it MP or mana. That is your party pool. So everybody pulls from that pool of skill points to use your skills. So you do have to kind of use it wisely. Now, what I usually like to do is I usually like to start with Genie doing his buff, and then I have Mickey do his AoE move. Just we go ahead and start off with a good attack break on most of the mobs. There's a chance it might even kill some of these guys and, hopefully wipe some of them off the board, because having a lot of these guys on board can be quite dangerous. So everybody else is just set for attack. You notice you can also change them by just swiping. So if you swipe up, it goes to attack, swipe to the left, it defends, swipe down for their skill. Very, very quick and simple. And then once you have everybody set to what you want them to do, you literally just tap go. There's no chaining, there's no tapping units in the correct order. It does everything in the right order, does buffs first, and then does your attacks. So I'll tap go, Genie does the buffs. All right. And there you go. Bonk. All right, you also notice at the top of the screen where it says 1x next to the pause button. I'm going to tap that to increase the speed to 2x, because otherwise it's kind of slow. I like to just go ahead and speed through it. All right, now my buff does carry over from the previous fight, so I'm just going to have Mickey do his special skill. So you'll notice at the top left, it tells you how many waves are in this current level, and we're on wave 2 out of 4. The boss is at wave 4. All right. Now I will note you can actually target single enemies here, and you'll notice there's like a little info box. You can tap them to see what they do. I'll note these little mystery mimics are a real pain because they'll actually drain your skill points. You know, it's like an MP drain. Really don't like those guys. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to have Minnie do her buff because we still have what Genie's buff. So we're going to do Minnie's buff to stack on that, and then yeah, we're going to hopefully kill these two guys with the AoE attack, and just be left with the other two. All right, perfect. So now they won't drain our skill points, hopefully. We got an extra skill from Mickey, which is great. All right, so Daisy has been hit with a status ailment, so it looks like it's skill lock. Yeah, so she can no longer use her skill. That's what that little purple square is right there with the sort of, it's got the line through the skill icon. So there are characters that can remove that. I think Rapunzel has that on her limit break. So if you limit break her healing skill, it will remove skill point or skill locks. I do not have that, unfortunately, so we're just gonna have to wait for that to go away. I think it usually takes 3 turns for that to go away. We are gonna re-up Genie's buff here, and then we're just gonna we're actually gonna focus on this guy because this one got the attack break. So let's focus on this one so we don't take too much damage. All right, we got Genie's extra skill, very nice. All right, so I'm going to use Mickey's blue striker on this one to make sure we kill this guy, or else he's just going to keep healing himself, and it's going to take forever. All right, so let's do that, because Mickey's skill does a defense break. There we go, knocked him out, excellent. So now we're on to the boss. You may have noticed this little circle down here. So you see where I'm tapping down here? That little circle is a little gauge that fills up, and when it's full, you can activate what's called a miracle ability. And I'll show you what that does in just a minute. We should be getting it here probably in the next turn or so. Now I want you to notice something about Nick. So Nick is the boss here, Mimic Nick. You'll notice his weakness is Blue Striker, which if you remember is Mickey's skill, right? His skill is Blue Striker, and so he has a specific weakness to Hero Mickey's Blue Striker ability, and he will take extra damage from that. Now, with that said, I'm not going to focus on him just yet because I want to get rid of these little ads first, these little mobs, because they can be a serious pain in the neck if you just leave them be. And so I'm actually going to, let's see, I don't want to use quite too much right away. I want to save up some skill points for when we actually need to start taking on Nick. I wish Daisy didn't still have the skill lock, but she does. All right. So we still have Genie's buff, so I'm not too concerned about that right now. So let's just go ahead and let's focus on taking out some of these ads and hope some of them get the attack break. All right, we got an extra skill. It's always nice to see that. There, my miracle ability has increased. Awesome. All right, so finally Daisy. All right, let's go ahead and get both of these buffs going, and let's see if we can take out these little ads here. All right, that's what I really want to do. Okay, let's get both of those buffs. I'm saving my miracle ability because my miracle ability is like a huge buff for the party. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, we don't need that anymore. All right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start focusing on Nick now, okay? Or maybe I should actually, no, maybe I should go ahead and stick with these guys. Let's do a heal, and then let's go ahead and start hammering this guy. I think we can take this guy down. All right, what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and buff myself up with this ability. So this miracle ability does a level 5 attack and defense buff. All right, and then I want to focus on this last ad, and I want to get rid of him real quick. Great. So we've got rid of the ad. Now we can just focus on Nick. Now you see that little, so there, you notice there are 2 gauges underneath him right there, right? So there's the green one, that's his health. The one below him is sort of what you might call like the rage gauge. And so depending on what his rage gauge is doing, it will affect his behaviors, okay? And so when it's full, he gets into sort of rage mode and he does a lot of really difficult attacks. So then you need to hit him to reduce that back down to 0, to reduce him to a what's called a confused state, and then his attacks will be much weaker. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and try and hit this guy hard. All right, so yeah, he's in rage mode now, which means he's gonna start hurting us, but hopefully with our big buff, we should be okay. Oh no, the jammer just hit. Oh my gosh, that was what I was worried about. The jammer. Oh, okay. This could be problematic, but hopefully not. Yep. So that paralyze hit Mickey. So what this is doing is it's preventing us from getting him out of rage mode right now. Oh gosh. Okay. Let's see. This could be. Oh man, this could be bad. All right, because like everybody's paralyzed, and I don't have any way to get rid of it currently. Let's see. All right. I wonder if. Yeah, currently the only person who's able to do anything is Minnie, and that's not good. All right, we need some buffs. There we go. All right, we're finally back. Let's hit this guy. Let's hit this guy hard. Let's do our attack buffs. We're gonna do a blue striker, and we're hopefully gonna get him out of rage mode. Boom. Yeah, Mickey is strong against this guy. Like one hit, and he is in confusion mode. We've got Baymax with the regen to save us. And so now we should be good. I think we should be good to go from here on out. I'm just going to keep doing Mickey's blue striker. We're going to heal ourselves up. All right. And I think before long we should be... All right, we still have all of our buffs, which is good. I'm going to have Mickey continue to do blue striker because, yeah, that's like... He's severely weak to it, and there we go. All right. So we just beat the hard mode boss, who's yeah, one of the hardest bosses in the game currently. We've just taken him out with this team. Ooh, I even leveled up. So you see what you get for a level up. You get 10 crystals and 10 stamina. Basically a 110 energy. If that was a 50 stamina refill for a level up, I wouldn't be nearly as mad, but it's not. It's just 10 stamina, which is, in my opinion, not good enough. So here's some crafting materials, some pixels to level up, and yeah. So that's basically the game in a nutshell. Yeah, some final thoughts to leave you guys with. I think the game is definitely worth a try. The future of the game is really going to depend on how and when they roll out new content. Hopefully it's going to be like weekly content, because as it is now, you can basically finish everything in the game within a week. If you actually just, sit down and play it and focus on it, you could probably hammer everything out in a week easy. So that's, it's not a lot. There's not a lot beyond that. But I can see that the simplicity of the game could work in the game's favor, but could also become stale in the long run if they don't make modifications and improvements on it later on. Currently, the game doesn't really give me a strong vibe either way, leaning towards F2P or pay to win. It's too early to tell. As it is now, like I said, you can do everything in the game free to play. I'm a free to play player, and I'm beating basically, I'm basically beating the game here as a free to play player as it is now. But as the game progresses, I don't know. We're just gonna have to wait and see. But I don't really get a strong vibe either way. The big the big sort of red flags are the fact that you can't use tickets on current banners, and that's sort of like using paid lapis or paid crystals for daily pulls. Those are kind of indicators that I think, you know, those are red flags to me, but like I said, we just have to wait and see. We just have to wait and see. Anyways, this has been a very long video. If you're still with me, thank you so much for hanging out with me. There's no guarantee that I'm going to do regular content for this game. We just have to wait and see if the game produces regular content and to see if people like enjoy seeing my content. So if you do like my content, please, you know, feel free to drop a like. Let me know in the comments below what you would like to see me do. Just like an FFBE, guys, I'm here to help you. That's all I want to do. I just want to help you and have some fun doing it. So thank you guys so much for following me, and I will see you on the other side.